The divine does not speak syllables. By Ru. Let's return to the word divine. We are trying to understand the difference between words and reality, and divine is a perfect place to look. Because the divine, if it exists, would have to be beyond syllables, beyond vocabulary, beyond grammar. The cycles of day and night, those are divine. Winter, spring, summer, fall, those are divine rhythms. They move without debate. They require no permission. They operate beyond human manipulation. That is very different from words. Words are human architecture. Words can be shaped, rearranged, weaponized. Words can persuade, distort, manipulate. The sunrise cannot be manipulated by rhetoric. The seasons cannot be revised by decree. But words? Words can justify anything. When someone says, the word of God, we must slow down. Creation has never spoken in syllables. The wind does not conjugate verbs. Gravity does not publish commandments. The ocean does not draft policy. Words are human tools, beautiful tools, necessary tools, but tools nonetheless. The problem did not begin with language. The problem began when humans claimed, these are not our words. These are the words of the Creator. That shift is profound, because once words are attributed to the ultimate authority, they become immune to questioning. Throughout history, words claimed to be divine have endorsed conquest, war, exclusion, slavery, hierarchy, tribute systems, favoritism. And here is the pattern. The image of the deity often mirrors the worldview of the people who describe it. Warrior cultures describe warrior gods. Imperial societies describe ruling gods. Mercantile cultures describe transactional gods. The divine begins to reflect cultural psychology. That does not mean all traditions are identical, nor does it mean every spiritual path produces conquest. Some traditions emphasize stillness, compassion, inward transformation. Others emphasize expansion and dominance. But in every case, what we call divine language emerges within human context. Now let's look at the definition. To call something divine is to say it is of or from a deity, possessing sacred or extraordinary qualities, transcending the ordinary. That definition itself reveals something important. We use divine both literally and metaphorically. We call a sunset divine. We call a meal divine. We call a performance divine. That tells us the word has stretched. It has moved beyond theology into admiration. But the deeper question is this. If the divine is truly sacred, truly transcendent, truly foundational, would it depend on human language for validation? Or would it be evident in pattern, in order, in law, in rhythm? The day does not argue for its divinity. It simply arrives. The seasons do not defend themselves. They simply turn. That is power without proclamation. So perhaps the divine is not a sentence. Perhaps it is a system, not a speech, but a structure, not a command, but a cycle. Words are necessary for human communication. They are not the enemy. But when we confuse the symbol with the reality, we begin worshiping architecture instead of observing existence. The finger pointing at the moon becomes more important than the moon itself. And maybe that is where clarity returns. The divine, if it exists, does not need endorsement. It does not need branding. It does not need marketing. It does not need to threaten. It does not need to flatter. It is expressed in breath, gravity, thermodynamics, growth, decay, rhythm, recurrence. Words can describe the divine. They cannot contain it. Ashe.